Welcome to Coruzant Technologies, home of the Digital Executive Podcast.
Welcome to the Digital Executive. Today's guest is Dr. Michael Flaxman. Dr. Michael Flaxman is OmniSci's Spatial Data Science Practice Lead. At OmniSci, Dr. Flaxman's team is focused on the combination of geographic analysis with machine learning, or GeoML. He has served on the faculties of MIT, Harvard, and the University of Oregon. Dr. Flaxman has participated in GIS projects in 17 countries. He has been a Fulbright Fellow and served as an advisor to the Inter-American Development Bank, the World Bank, and the National Science Foundation. Dr. Flaxman previously served as industry manager for architecture, engineering, and construction at Esri, the world's largest developer of GIS technology. Dr. Flaxman received his doctorate in design from Harvard University in 2001 and holds a master's in community and regional planning from the University of Oregon and a bachelor's in biology from Reed College.
Well, good afternoon, Mike. Welcome to the show.
Great. Pleasure to be here.
Awesome, Mike. I appreciate it. This is so exciting. We finally get to meet here in person, albeit a little bit virtually right on a Zoom call, but I'm really excited to hear your story, and we're going to jump into this so we can get your story out to our audience. So, Mike, let's talk about your career. You've got that career in technology, data science, you're a serial entrepreneur, and now you're the Spatial Data Science Practice Lead for OmniSci. Could you share with our audience the secret to your career growth and what inspires you?
Sure, I'm happy to. I think one of the things that I was confused about when I was young was I liked both biology and computer science. And I thought of that as a problem for the longest time and alternated back and forth between them. And then eventually realized that there were a whole bunch of interesting things to be done in that intersection. And so I've always told people since that, the career I've had, things I do weren't invented when I started. And the traditional academic disciplines, didn't cover that territory. So I encourage people to have a kind of technical expertise and also domain expertise and to follow their passion on both. But that's what I've always done, and it's served me really well.
That's awesome. Kind of, you're at that cross section, right? And you're right. Traditionally, you're looking back, you probably wouldn't think those two would kind of align or work together, but there's actually a ton of use cases for that. So definitely appreciate the share on that. So, Mike, let's talk about this pandemic. Starting to lift. Hopefully, we'll go back to some sort of normalcy, and we know how to take these on going forward. But what are your plans for business growth going forward this year? And will it be any different than the last 15 months?
Sure. I think we're, like a lot of businesses, we had some ability to go virtual and some things that were best done in person. And we've kind of critically reevaluated all of those. And it's changed the company in large part in a good way. So we have a lot more breadth in our team. We've hired around the world in particular places, actually to cover all time zones, but also to leverage expertise that's only available in particular places. And so that's really helped the company. And as we move forward, I can see us, continuing to operate in that mode. That's roughly, I think of it as split in thirds. So we've got a third of the company that wants to go into the office and does. We've got a third that comes in, occasionally as needed. And we've got a third that appreciate being way out in the woods in some beautiful place and do almost everything virtually. And we seem to be able to accommodate all three of those with no harm to the business, and in fact, some major business benefits. So to us now, that was forced on us like everybody. Mm-hmm. But now that we're in the new normal, I can see, being much more deliberate about when we meet and where we meet and why we meet in person. And for us, a lot of our, critical engagements in person involve customer contact, kind of meeting the customers where they live and seeing how they work and getting the informal conversations that you get in those kind of contexts. But our development staff, for instance, there's no particular need for our development meetings to be in San Francisco. They could these days just as equally be in Vancouver, BC, for instance, where we have a big development presence. And so, I think we're shifting. It's not an entirely new thing. We've always done client visits. We've always done conferences. We've always done offsite meetings. But we're adapting, I think, like a lot of software companies to that new environment. And then from our customers' point of view and relative to our business, we're obviously big believers in the power of analytics, and we do apply that in-house as well. So we dog food stuff and test stuff ourselves. And a lot of the internal surveys are indicating that part of the reason people like to work for us is this flexibility that we offer. And that includes the flexibility to come and work in the office, right? So it's not just flexibility for out working remotely, but we're looking forward to a strong new year. We've made it through the pandemic, I think, very well. Basically, we our churn rate was much lower than we expected, and very good for the industry. So our customers made it through as well, and continue to see value in our product. Obviously, we think as things get closer to back to normal, that will benefit us from our customers' business decision and confidence point of view. But the product we make helps people be more adaptive, and so I think we did well in the pandemic because we allowed people to, for instance, use our tool to see how customer traffic had changed during the pandemic, and to be able to kind of directly observe and adapt to change. So I think that's going to continue, and we're optimistic for this year coming, because the business uncertainty has been resolved, but the tools are still valuable, basically.
Absolutely. I appreciate the share on that. And certainly everybody had to make that major pivot to adapt to the new normal, to adapt to the challenges. And I think everybody did well. And that was the silver lining. Of course, some service industry businesses and hospitality were devastated, of course, as you know. But anyway, moving forward, Mike, you're obviously leveraging some new and emerging technologies within your tech stack. Is there anything you might be able to share with us today?
Sure. So we're most famous for GPU technology, or graphics processing unit. Mm-hmm. And so our founder's original idea basically was to rewrite database technology on top of GPUs. And so that was kind of a ground up rewrite of database technology. And so we've sailed that boat for quite a while, and we will continue to. But there have been some challenges with GPUs, and there still are. And one of them is actually they're too popular, so Bitcoin miners love them too. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes, for instance, if you go to Amazon and try and turn on a GPU machine, you can't get it because they're literally out of supply. Or you try and buy a graphics card and you can't get it, or it gets back ordered. So what we've done is to add a lot of CPU compute capability within our product and to expose it more. And so essentially we're able to leverage a much wider range of hardware. And this year we're kind of on course to basically be feature complete on both sides. So if you install us on a laptop or some machine without a graphics card, we will do as well as is physically possible to do on that machine. If the machine has a GPU, we'll use it, of course. If you're connected to a server that has 100 GPUs, we'll happily use those. So we're doubling down on this kind of platform flexibility. And you'll see some announcements from us over the course of this year in terms of cloud strategy. But fair to say there's been improvement in the ability also to share GPUs in the cloud. So to basically do with GPUs as people have been doing with CPUs for a while now, and just rent one for a minute, and when you're done, hand it to the next person, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's been only possible in bigger lumps up until now, but in this next year, we'll see those restrictions going away, and so that'll allow us to be much more scalable and responsive, and cover then some use cases where the use is very surgy. You want a lot of compute power, but only for 2 minutes. Great, just pay for it for 2 minutes. Don't pay for a server that's sitting around all year. And so that's I think one of the major changes. The second one near to my heart, since I'm a geo guy, is that we'll be adding geo-enrichment features throughout the product. And so geo-enrichment is the idea that you take some data set that has spatial coordinates on it, and you're able to impute a number of other things based on related spatial data. So for instance, it might be just a blind GPS point, but it lives within a census block, within a zip code, within a state, within a country. And we can infer all of those and the relationships around them based purely on the geographic coordinate. So we have that capability today on the back end of our product, but we've got a big initiative underway to allow that to be accessible to more and more customers. And thanks to the advantages and part of GPU technology, we can do that at a scale that people haven't seen before. So that's I think going to be a very fun thing for folks with needs in the big geodata side of things. And then
go ahead.
Lastly, I'd say we're continuing to innovate on what I'm calling GeoML, or the combination of GIS and machine learning technology. And so you'll see a number of initiatives already in play, and I have some use cases that people can view showing different aspects of this. But rather than think about things as doing database analytics on a database, we're thinking about doing things on a digital twin, which happens to live in a database. And so I have done a lot of work for utilities, for instance, using LiDAR data, so 3D point cloud data. And we can operate on billions of points of LiDAR data. So having the ability to do things at scale is useful, but if it's just a point cloud, literally without any other context, it's hard to make much of it other than look at it. So the ML part comes in then being able to do pattern detection on these complex signals, including 3D points, and say, hey, that's a power line, that's a tree, and they're too close to each other. And so that ability to kind of use machine learning as an input pipeline is really important to us, and we're going to continue to develop it. I think that it's of even broader importance in the sense that a lot of folks are being able to connect sensor data to their databases, to their dashboards, and essentially have a pipeline of information flow from something changing in the real world, that being sensed and monitored and noticed, all the way to changing a business decision based on something appearing or disappearing or moving. So I think we'll see a lot more integration from essentially primary sensors all the way through human decision or actions. And so that's I guess I would say the third general theme of where we're going this coming year.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. And I appreciate you jumping and diving into those processes and technology that you're leveraging at OmniSci. And that's amazing. And it certainly gives us some more insights to what you're all working on. So Mike, last question here. If we could just jump in and you can briefly share something from your career experience that might be helpful for those looking to grow their career, maybe in tech, data science or entrepreneurship.
Sure. So I've been involved in, 3 startups at this point, which I guess qualifies me barely as a serial entrepreneur. But, I think that those have all been motivated by this kind of combination of observing a trend in business or in technology and figuring out, an innovative solution to the current challenges. And so I've been able to go back and forth between academia and private sector. I've been able to have a bunch of really interesting opportunities, and most of those came from, I guess I would say, just keeping my ears open and being in contact, with people across the spectrum. So when I was in academia and teaching, I was constantly in contact with my industry friends and vice versa. And so I think it's actually, if you want to have a career at least similar to mine, where you're able to bob and weave a little bit between public and private sector, which I found very interesting to do. I think it helps to just always be thinking ahead and helping people on the other side that will remember you for it. And so when the time comes and you're ready to move, there's always somebody interested in having you. So I think it's always important particularly if you're in large organizations, but even sometimes in a busy startup, just to be aware that there's a bigger world out there, and you need to always keep a little bit of a read on what's going, because you never know the next step of your career and who's going to hire you next. And I've had some really fun phone calls in my life. I got a phone call once when I was working in industry that asked me to be an MIT professor, and don't get those phone calls every day. Yeah. But I was prepared for it because I had laid some groundwork and foundation. So I encourage people to always be doing something outside of their main gig, always have a side hustle, always have, the next thing that you might find most interesting kind of warming up, so that if you need to jump or you have an opportunity, you're able to follow it. But it's a little bit of just thinking ahead and thinking where you want to be next at any point in your career.
I think that's very helpful. And you're right. A lot of folks have talked about their side hustle or, continuing that journey of learning. And it's always been really a way for people to open doors and provided opportunities for them. So Mike, I appreciate the share on that. And Mike, it was a pleasure having you on today. And I look forward to speaking with you real soon.
Very good. Appreciate it.
Bye for now.